From Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, USA, and the home of hot chicken, it's the Rick Altizer Show. Sit back, buckle up. Rick will talk with the movers, shakers, and creators who put Christ in Christian entertainment. He's a man who's clear so the world can hear. Here's Rick Altizer.
Hey, thanks for joining me today. That was Bob Allen, the voice of the Rick Altizer Show. Bob's a good friend. Actually, I'm going to have dinner with him and his wife tonight. So, Bob, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. Last week, for those of you who listened, I had Bob Elder from Collide Media Group with me. Bob has been in the music industry the Christian entertainment industry for about 30 years. Music, films, VeggieTales, Word Records, Family Christian Stores, now with his own company, Collide Media Group. And last week, we talked about the music industry. We talked about the retail industry, some of the challenges the retail industry faced, as well as also children's products and some of the challenges that we face with that. And if you want to, if you missed that show, you can go to my website, rickaltizer.com, and you can hear that show. It'll be up there, and I highly recommend it. And Bob, thanks for coming back for part 2.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be back.
We had a great show last week. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, me too.
So, talk to me then. You've been through the business as retail, family Christian stores, kind of on the ground, what Christian consumers are looking for. You're kind of an expert, and you've been doing that your whole 30-year career. Went to Word Records as the music industry started to blow up and just get so popular. You were there for that. Then moved over to VeggieTales while they were blowing up and being popular. So you've been in this trend of following these companies as they're just going up, and then from there, then you begin to start working for yourself, and then doing more things as far as marketing with more of an emphasis on movies. So let's talk a little bit about your move then from VeggieTales, music and retail into marketing for movies and things.
Yeah, it's it's about halfway through those 30 years. For 15 years, I worked for some of the largest and most impactful Christian entertainment organizations. But as I look back on those 15 years, I'd literally walked the supply chain of Christian entertainment. I started with customers at Family Christian Stores, and I moved into a buying office, and I moved into a marketing role with a distributor, and then I moved into brand development and marketing with a studio. And so if you look at those organizations, they all kind of follow a linear supply chain, if you will. And so in early 2003, when my time as Big Idea headed into bankruptcy, as my time there came to an end, I looked back and said, wow, this has been amazing, but Lord, what did you create me to do? Or more importantly, who am I? And spending some time in that, I really discovered something about the work and the organizations I've been a part of. I'm a guy that hits heavy on the loyalty side. And so I found that I could quote the mission statements of the companies that I'd worked for. I often would do that as part of my role with different organizations. I'd talk about that mission. And it was at that point that I did some work, kind of peeled back the layers of the onion to understand who am I and what has God created me to do. And at that point, he gave me, I believe, and I wrote this down, and I have said it thousands of times. It's my personal mission statement for the work that I do, and that is, it is my mission to find, develop, and bring to market Christ-centered content that changes people's lives to impact our culture. And that mission, it really has guided me for the last 15 years.
Christ-centered
content. Changes people's lives
to
impact our culture.
Impact the culture.
Yeah, and so some of that comes out of I'm a kid born in the 60s, grew up in the 70s and 80s, and as we moved into the 90s, culture wars big time. Certainly our worldview from a biblical perspective is that Hollywood, if you will, has, worn down our culture, and we've lost our biblical values. And so in the 90s, certainly strong. Here we are in 2017. We don't talk culture wars as much. However, there really is a connection point to our Creator, and it happens through media. There's something really amazing about Christ-centered content that has this impact on our lives, and it's all content. When we see something really beautiful, the way our heart responds, the way we leap to that's God's creativity. Whether it's art, or maybe it's song, or maybe it's a platform, or someone's skill to really be an orator or a performer. And when we see that world-class entertainment, we're moved by that from an art perspective, but there's something else happening. You can call it the God particle or whatever you want to call it. There's this connectivity that we all have, really, to our Creator, to each other, and to our Creator. And the way that Christian media connects that and sort of activates it is really amazing. And I love that. I'm a student of the marketplace, and I have studied it from the inside for decades, and love that. I'm always super curious as to why do people respond in a certain way, and why God's not dead. What is it about that really activated and connected with people? And so today, have the opportunity to do that and continue to live out that mission now with Collide Media Group and the work that we get to do with producers and studios and Christian entertainment.
It is an amazing thing. You're listening to the Rick Altizer Show on Bott Radio, 89.1 FM, 1160 AM, Nashville.
So talk to me about collide. What's the meaning behind the word collide?
Yeah, it can be defined as two objects in motion that come together to make an impact. So going back to that impact, the impact is really God. It's our Creator. It's His love on our hearts that we feel. That's where the movement is. The impact, we see those two objects at Collide Media Group as content and consumer. And what stands between those is the marketplace. So at its sort of purest form, we are both content creators and consumers right now. So you and I, Rick, are having a conversation, and a conversation is producing content and consuming content. And we're doing so with our body language. Y'all can't see us because this is a radio, but of course you would expect our heads are nodding, and we're making eye contact, and we're using our hands to express. And then we're using the intonation of our speech, and we're making these words up as we go, and we're having a conversation, which is kind of fun to listen to. So we're being consumed by more than just each other because it's put on the radio airwaves and sent out across the internet and the like. And so we get to consume it. So content and consumer, the marketplace in between, is just a matter of navigating that space. And so at Collide, what we see is the impact when those two things connect. And what I love the most about it is from that definition, two objects in motion. Remember last week when you asked me why family Christian stores went bankrupt? It's because the consumer is always changing. And from a pure marketing standpoint, it's easy for us to look at an audience and call them a target, and you assume that a target is stationary. But honestly, it changes.
Yes.
Constantly. And I love the perspective of both of those objects in motion, sort of a, Wayne Gretzky skate to the puck sort of experience that helps us see the difficulty of finding and activating your audience, and how that is in today's world. It's less the separation of content and marketing, and it's all come together, and we get to experience, we get to be a part of it. So we talk about content as this experience that is more like a movement. It's about an audience gathering together and sharing, like-minded, tribes, if you will, getting together and sharing an experience. The experience of God's Not Dead was more than just going to a movie theater. It was texting at the end of the movie theater. It's a call to action. Let's all say this. It's a statement. God's not dead.
Friends,
Text
God's
your
not
friends.
dead.
God's
Yeah.
not dead. Yeah.
Which is a great advertisement for the movie too, by the way. But
Exactly. So
gee, we didn't think about that. No.
yeah, and then repeated, by many other people. So that call to action part. But I love that perspective of what I call it the so what of Christian content. So if the who and the why matters more than the what and the how, then the creator of this content, which is ultimately all creativity comes from God, so it's God inspired, but the creator of this content is intending this for an audience and is intending for something to happen with this song, with this message, with this movie, with this inspiration, whatever form it takes, there's an intention for it. There's an intention for the Rick Altizer Show. Mm-hmm. You have a purpose. Mm-hmm. And so the way that you create content by your guest selection and by the way you conduct your interviews and all is to really make a difference in the world. It's to make an impact. And that's where we get excited is around that impact. And how can that impact go further than the first touch or experience of it? How can it start earlier and how can it go further? And that really is sort of the secret behind Collide Media Group is we connect to the missional impact, the long-term missional impact of that content as it connects with its consumers.
So someone who's made a movie or an album or a book or some kind of Christian media product, is it mostly movies now for you?
It's a lot of movies, but we do television and we do books and children's branded entertainment and music and all. Yeah.
So someone has a Christian focused,
Christian
product,
media,
and they want to. America's a big country. There's a lot of people in America, and it's complicated to get their attention. I want you to know about my new, let's just say it's a movie. Okay. I've got a new movie. I want you to know, I want people to know I've got this movie coming and it's going to be in theaters one night or what can we do with it? So then they call you up and they're having you help them do what?
Yes. And so our role with the producers or the stakeholders, whoever comes to us and hires us as the content creators, our role is to help them find their audience. Now that's simple. Anyone with a marketing title, degree, or whatever, you would say that they're a part of that. We uniquely approach that with focus on the missional impact. So when we sit with the stakeholders, we ask questions about the origin of it. Where were you when this idea came to you? When the script was originally written? Help us understand what that looked like. A project that we worked on recently called The Heart of Man, a docudrama that was put into over 500 theaters in September and has a repeat on October 17. That project took 7 years, but its origin story came out of really the life of a man who was struggling with his own shame. And here's a movie that takes shame on in our culture, in our Christian subculture for sure, takes it on and exposes it in an amazing way. And the audience for The Heart of Man connects with the filmmakers and the story of how that content was made. But the missional impact of The Heart of Man just started on September 14. And what that started is really a movement to, I'd like to say kick shame in the teeth, because I don't think shame has any place in our culture. I think it takes away from who we are and the glory of God. And it started a movement which is continuing and growing. And our focus for The Heart of Man, while it did take into consideration what would happen when the movie was available theatrically on September 14th. More importantly, it focused on what will happen as people's lives are impacted with that message. So at the end of The Heart of Man, there's of course, like most, projects today, there's a text in and you can go and get information. But when you go to the website, you get to see where you are in the journey. And you get to connect with resources that are relevant to your story and make it personal, and then gather with other people in your community into small groups and process this and really walk through and open up this experience so that what you're feeling in your heart, you get to share horizontally as God's love impacts you vertically.
So then how do you help them? What specifically do you do?
In the case of the Heart of Man.
Let's talk about Heart of Man, because I've seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very powerful movie. And I do encourage my listeners on October 16th to see if
17th.
I'm sorry, October 17th.
Yep.
Let's get that right.
Yep.
October 17th to go see the movie. Is it going to be playing in the Nashville area?
Yes, it will be. So the exact theaters will go up in just a couple of days and will be available on the Heart of Man. It's heartofmanmovie.com.
Heartofmanmovie.com.
Yep.
Very powerful. That does look at shame and how we deal with shame, and using the story of the prodigal son as a kind of an allegory. Very beautiful.
In case you didn't realize it, you're listening to a really nice guy. The Rick Altizer Show on Bott Radio, 89.1 FM, 1160 AM, Nashville.
But let's talk about just specifically, like the nuts and bolts of,
Sure.
Hey, we've got this movie. It's called Heart of Man. It's about shame. Here's our heart. Here's what we want to see happen with it. Then what do you do? What specifically do you do to help them, to help people know, hey, Heart of Man is coming and you need to see it?
Yep. So there are a lot of functions in marketing that we can play. The one that we love the most and are known for is sometimes called ministry outreach. We sometimes call it partnership development. But what we do is we go to organizations who have a mission match with the content. And those organizations who have constituents or a tribe of their own, we approach the organization and offer them the opportunity to use the content as a ministry tool, if you will, for their own organization. So in the case of the Heart of Man, organizations like New Life and True Face and Our Tribe, which is an app experience to connect people, these organizations are very like-minded. They have we call it the mission match. They have a mission match with the content. So we look into the content and we ask those questions about the who and the why, and we surface really the connective tissue of the content, if you will. We surface those causes, and we go into the marketplace, find nonprofits, parachurch organizations, really ministries, of course. We go to these organizations, and ahead of the plans to bring the content to market, we go to them and connect with them with their own schedules, and we listen to them, and we ask them what's important to them. What are they doing, and what's working, and where are they going? Where's God taking you now, and does this content fit that? And when that content connects and fits, we call that a mission match, and we equip them with really promotional assets. And what it means, Rick, is when I hear as a consumer, when I hear about this content, if I hear about it through the lens of a ministry that I'm a part of and I trust, it means more than just a regular advertising message. So it's
I'm
one
on the
thing.
email list. Let's say I'm on the email list of one of these.
Yeah.
One of these, and I'm a supporter of this ministry. And then they send me an email saying, "Hey, Heart of Man comes out. Here's what it's about." And
Yep.
it's already something I'm interested in because I'm already supporting that ministry.
Yes.
So it's a great way to you're not just marketing, you're partnering.
We are.
And you're giving this other ministry, here's a tool to help men who are struggling, let's say like with pornography addiction or shame, or they've been unfaithful and they're covered with shame and guilt. Here's an amazing tool in the form of a movie that helps them deal with this issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Powerful.
So it is. It's
I'm
really
taking
powerful.
notes, by the way, because this is good stuff.
It is. It's fun. And the part of this that we really appreciate is connecting with the filmmakers and their original intent of why they made this content, because we're able to bring alongside them a support organization to take that original intent further than they would ever be able to on their own. And so that's where it really connects. We like to say we know we've done our job when the content becomes a ministry tool for the organization. And when that happens and they see the content as a ministry tool, then we know we've job well done, and
You're
we're happy to
move on. Switchboard operator, you plug in things in. Hey, we're going to plug you guys together. We're going to connect you guys together, and it's a win-win for everybody because you're helping them with a tool, and then they're helping get visibility of your movie.
Yep, exactly.
Amazing, great.
Yep. So we've done that, with everything from Fireproof to Soul Surfer to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Going back a long ways, back to even VeggieTales days when we released Jonah, a VeggieTales movie in 2002, and more recently with things like The Heart of Man and other films like Sony Affirms The Star that releases in just a couple of months. So. That releases on November 17 and will make a huge impact on families. And we're very excited to see that. In the case of The Star, we're helping activate homeschool groups and audiences.
Excellent.
And spent a good part of this year hanging out with lots of homeschoolers and making connections. And there are some great resources coming to market around the movie The Star in order to further their experience with that film.
So interesting. It's what you've been doing for 30 years, connecting Christian media with the consumer, connecting them, but there's a mission behind it. There's a purpose behind it to impact the culture, to make a difference in this person's life, and then to impact our culture. So I love how, at the end of the day, whereas you could have been doing metal plates,
Sure.
You had an option to make metal plates at one time.
Yeah.
You chose to do something else. I think at the end of the day, what an amazing purpose, and you're helping people connect. And I just want to say again, on October 17th, the Heart of Man movie, if you have struggled with shame or know someone who's struggling with shame, and it's something we don't talk about much. We don't talk about it in churches much. It's something that isn't dealt with much. This movie, in a very straightforward way, deals with it. And I recommend you at least go to the website, heartofmanmovie.com. To at least look at it, look into it, and pray about going.
Yeah.
So let's talk as we finish up here. Let's talk kind of about the Christian movie industry. We talked last week about the music industry in the 80s. The big companies came in, and all of a sudden the quality level shot up.
Yep.
The sales went out the roof, and I'm seeing our movie industry today kind of mirroring some of that in the 80s, that the bigger companies are getting involved, the budgets are going up, the quality level's going up. I saw Case for Christ and was blown away. That movie was great. And, it's like, wow, that's a great movie, And it also has an amazing message. Talk to me about the Christian movie industry and about where it's going right now.
We love that. We love that. The way I see it, Rick, is there are so many stories yet to be told. This more recent Christian music industry, Hollywood's kind of worn out. Lots of sequels, lots of unoriginal ideas. The same movie, you'll see a lot of movies coming back and wait, that was done in 1950 whatever. It's the same movie, just done again today. There are so many stories from Christendom that have yet to be told, and so I think where we sit today is a huge opportunity for those stories, and some of them are real-time true stories of what's going on today. Movies, like Heaven is for Real. So they're coming out of our experiences today, and to be able to move that from something that happens and into script and onto screen, and then help use that real life experience as an inspiration for others, because we're not alone. And that's a great reminder that we're not alone is fantastic. Plus the older content, like the C.S. Lewis, man, there's a lot of content back for C.S. Lewis that has not yet made it to screen, and can't wait for some of those, those films to be made. So we have source material that's deeper than Hollywood has ever seen, and it goes back to the Bible, and there's some still great films to be made around that. Can't wait for Mel to tackle the resurrection, which, is supposedly coming. But how fun is this in this era where God's talents are being assembled in such a way with quality to deliver these experiences like we've never seen them before.
Awesome. And, thank you so much. And it's great just hearing, too, about your heart of wanting to take these Christian products and impact the culture, change people's lives and impact the culture. What an amazing mission. And Bob, thanks for being on the show. This was awesome. I just loved it.
A lot of fun. Thank you, Rick. Good to be with you.
Yes. So now we're going to go eat something. So what do you want to go eat?
All right. Yeah, let's go to lunch.
The music you are listening to is from my scripture memory record, and I want to give it to you for free. Just go to my website, rickaltizer.com, and click Contact. Altizer is spelled Altizer. Or how about liking my Facebook page, facebook.com/Rick Altizer Show. I want to thank Paul Winkler, the investor coach, for sponsoring this show, and I want to thank you for listening. So be sure to check us out again next week as we discuss how we communicate the gospel through media to our culture. Let's be clear so the world can hear. I'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening.
There is